All right, it's Peloton on pause. We're back, brought to you by Green Edge Cycling, and it's time to get a cold drink out of your chili bun, put on your jandals, because it's a New Zealand special. This one, we've got Dion Smith and Georgia Williams. Guys, welcome to the show. I'll start with you, Georgia. You're actually in New Zealand at the moment. How is it over there at the moment? Is it choice?
Yeah, it is definitely. So I came back from Girona 6 weeks ago now. Just when everything started getting a bit crazy over there, I thought it was best to come home and be with my family and stuff because didn't know what was going to happen. But no, it's been good. It's my first autumn in a very long time, but it's been pretty nice.
Was it a hard choice to make at the time to leave Girona, given the issues with obviously 2 weeks of quarantine and things like that?
Yeah, it was just talking with the girls, and we just decided one night we need to go. And I was pretty much on the fence. I wasn't too fussed about coming home, but I sort of figured if they were all going home, then I was going to go too. So the majority of the vote was going home. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going.
Yeah. And Dion, I hear they're lifting the restrictions in Girona now. You can actually go and ride out on the road. What's that been like?
Yeah, no, that has been a massive difference. Especially for us pros, we can go sort of any time of day, which is pretty sweet. I kind of feel a little bit bad because I'm here with my girlfriend and she's got the time slots in the morning and the night, and nothing during the day. So kind of feel bad, kind of leaving her to it. But yeah, it is nice to get out and get back to what we love doing.
So do you want to explain how's it working? Because there's different rules for pros and different rules for the general population, yeah?
Yeah, correct.
So
the general public have time slot from 6 till 10 in the morning, and then 7 to 11 at night. So it's 8 to 11. Yeah. Zoe, my girlfriend's telling me I was wrong.
So you can go for a ride at 8 to 11 at night?
Yeah, well, any sort of exercise. You can go for a walk.
Okay.
But that's for pretty much general public. But then there's time slots for parents taking kids out during the day, elderlies at a certain time. I guess the majority are from those time slots in the morning and in the afternoon.
Georgia, how's the Jacinda Ardern's leadership been perceived back in New Zealand? Because I mean, we get a bit of media stuff here, and she seems good in a crisis. Is she massively popular back home?
I was surprised at how much the other countries like her. She's really good, and most people like her. But I guess there's obviously a few that don't. But no, she's been so good, done such a good job, and I think we've nearly eliminated Corona, which is pretty cool.
And so what they're talking about back here in Australia, that I think in Victoria next week or in 2 weeks, they're going to allow restaurants and all that to return. What's it like in New Zealand with the restrictions at the moment? Are they pretty much eased most of the big ones?
Yeah, so on Thursday, all the shops and restaurants are allowed to open. It's pretty much like normal, except no gatherings larger than 10. Yeah.
Well, what I thought with this episode, given that I'm a massive fan of New Zealand, I'm just going to throw out random Kiwi stats throughout the episode. I think I've got 8. I've been Googling. Stat number 1, there are 9 sheep per person in New Zealand. You've got over 43 million sheep. Is it a tradition in New Zealand every Sunday night you do the lamb roast and you pretty much have lamb with everything?
Depends what kind of lamb roast you're talking about, mate.
Do you constantly, like, Kiwis just get ribbed all the time about the sheep, yeah? It's just like, do you get to the point where you're just over it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I swear the Welsh have more sheep than New Zealand, but yeah, it seems to stick with the Kiwis that we always get stick about it.
What about training, Dion? Obviously, you've had to do a lot of stuff on Zwift, and there's been a lot of interactive races with the team. How have you found the Zwift side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's probably been a godsend. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of it, to be honest, compared to some people, but it was definitely good to get on there and have a sweat, and sort of get the heart rate up and keep the fitness at some sort of level. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't ideal, but it was good to have something to do for sure.
What about you, George? Have you taken to Zwift and been getting into the home training side of things?
Yeah, a little bit, because the first stage of our lockdown was level 4, and yeah, you weren't really allowed to go riding outside. You had to sort of stay local. So yeah, I did get on Zwift. Yeah, it was fun. It was really good. But yeah, so I've been allowed out on the road for the last few weeks now, which yeah, has been fine. But no, yeah, Zwift's good.
Have you found? I was talking to Durbo and a few of the guys that they're almost becoming obsessed with the whole race tactics and all that sort of stuff. Have you learned a lot in that process of like the do's and don'ts with Zwift, because it's obviously totally different to racing out on the road? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know what do's and don'ts there are or are not, but
You pretty much can't do any of these big solo attacks or anything like that. It's just like Zwift suicide.
pretty much. I mean, Durbo could probably do that, but definitely I couldn't for sure. But I guess they got the old power-ups. I only learned that about halfway through quarantine, that you got these power-ups that you can use. It gives you sort of 9 kgs off for 15 seconds and things like this. So,
Sounds like Mario Kart.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like when you get the star.
I never quite worked out how people press the button while they're, coming to a sprint finish, or did they get like a big stick and like press the button, or I don't know. I could never reach it, so I never really.
It's another planet now with just how everyone's had to adapt. Definitely. What are some of the things that you've been doing in lockdown? Like obviously the other guys we've talked to, some of them picked up new skills. I know Durbo's obsessed with making sourdough. Start with you, George. Is there any other things that you've been taking up in lockdown that you hadn't previously?
I've got into some kombucha making again, the fermented tea drink.
Yeah, that's massive in Australia. We're obsessed with that stuff. It's about $10 a bottle.
Yeah, but it's just so cheap to make. And I used to make it a few years ago, and then I sort of stopped, and then so now I thought I'd get back into it. But I started making a batch, and that killed about 5 minutes, and then you got to wait 10 days for it to be ready. So yeah,
what's the key? How do you make it? What's the basic steps?
Yeah, so you have to have like a SCOBY, it's called. It's like a bacteria. Looks like a jellyfish thing that you just put into some sugar tea, and then that ferments the sugar and eats it, and then creates the kombucha.
And do you is it like when old ladies make big vats of tomato sauce, do you then just sort of bottle it up and dish it around to all your mates, or you just keep it for yourself?
Nah, I share it around.
Good stuff. What about you, Dion? You got into the cooking or the Netflix? What's your pastime in the lockdown, mate?
Yeah, a few things. I mean, now that you mentioned the bread, I don't know what it is, but it must be like a male thing, or everyone getting into sourdough. So I actually started getting into that as well. Made my own little starter, chicken on it every day, like a proud dad. But yeah, I was keen to give it a go, and I wouldn't call it much of a loaf of bread that I made, but it was still edible for sure. So I did that a couple of times, and lots of different meals, and just made some good feeds, and actually bought a PlayStation off Amazon, so helped old Jeff Bezos become a trillionaire by ordering a lot of stuff off Amazon.
I saw that the other day. It's unbelievable, his wealth. Like, did you see there was a video where they had grains of rice, and every grain of rice represented $100,000, and they poured it out, and it was like this massive mountain of rice to show just how wealthy he is. It's nuts.
And he got a divorce, so Still,
Yeah, he's done well
still doing well. Yeah.
Exactly. I've got another random stat for you guys. Random stat two. In 2012, New Zealand broadcast the first weather report in Elvish language, which was the common tongue in Lord of the Rings. So New Zealand is home to many a nerd by the looks of things. Did you guys get into the Lord of the Rings series? Were you a big fan, Georgia?
No, embarrassingly enough to say, I've never watched Lord of the
Don't be
Rings.
embarrassed. No, I wasn't a massive fan of it, but I think the second one, Return of the King, I remember seeing that in the cinemas. I was like, wow, some of the fight scenes was pretty epic in that. Did you get right into it, Dion, or didn't buy into the craze?
I think I was much the same as you, Jonesy. Like, I do enjoy them. I actually really like the fight scenes in them. I think the thing that puts me off is they're so long. They're like 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So like it's one, I watch it once, and I think that's once a year, maybe. Not even that. I haven't actually seen it in ages. So yeah, I've probably watched it a couple of times, all three movies. But I do like them. Yeah, quite good.
Well, New Zealand really did cash in on that. I think you can do like a lot of those Lord of the Rings tours, and they kept a lot of the sets. So it's definitely one of the big money makers for the country. Getting back to the racing, you guys both raced at the start of the season. How's the start of the season for you, Georgia?
Yeah, it was good. Tour Down Under was really fun. It's always really good to start the season in Australia. But unfortunately, I crashed in the huge crash in Cadell's Evans race, and I hit my head quite hard, and yeah, I had a concussion from that. Like, I knew at the time, but I sort of pushed it a bit too much the following weeks, because we had the New Zealand Road Nationals that I was trying to be fit for, but no, I ended up having to pull out of that because I just wasn't up to it. And then it turned out, my headache sort of lingered on for quite a while, and I was in Belgium about to start the Cobble Classics, but I did some recon with the girls one day, and that was just too much. I just wasn't ready for that intensity and that duration, and I had such bad headaches afterwards, and then that night, and my directors and the doctors said that I'm obviously not up to racing anymore. So I ended up when we heard that there was no racing for a while, I ended up just having 2 weeks completely off. So I don't know, I guess this was a little silver
Was
lining
that the
in
first time that you'd had
this.
a serious concussion from cycling, and was it quite a scary experience once you've worked out, geez, I'm really not well at the moment?
Yeah, well, I had one in September last year. That's sort of maybe why I didn't recover as fast from this one. But I didn't actually get knocked out when I crashed, so I figured, it can't be too bad. But actually, I've learned that sort of every head knock is quite bad. So I had 2 weeks off, and it just came right from then, which I've been pretty lucky. But yeah.
And you're fully recovered now from the side effects and things like that?
Yeah, had no headaches, which has been awesome.
Oh, well, that's good. What about you, Dion? How's the start of year for you, mate? You did a bit of racing in Australia.
Yeah, kicked it off at Race Torquay and Cadell's and Sun Tour. So that was a big Aussie stint over there. Just went over there for a few weeks, and then came back to New Zealand and did the Nationals before heading back over to Europe. And then did opening weekend with some of the European guys, and that's about it. And then everything shut down.
Do you think getting some racing in at the start of the year has helped you with lockdown, or do you think it sort of made you miss it even more because you've obviously had a taste of it when compared to the guys that haven't started the season?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, for sure. I mean, because you build up. I think it's the same for everyone. You build up over the winter or summer for us, for 2 months after the off season, and you come in firing fit and keen to get into it. So it was a little bit of racing, but I was still, chomping at the bit to sort of really get going in Europe. And I'm sure it was the same for guys that hadn't raced. It's probably even worse for them.
Georgia, a lot of the guys that we've had on the podcast, common theme is like, how do you stay motivated during this period? Are you someone that like needs to set little goals just throughout the year? How do you go during this period when it's a bit unknown as to when you're going to start racing? Like, how do you sort of fire yourself up with training and things like that?
I actually love training, so I haven't found it too hard. And obviously, having like 2 weeks completely off, I was super motivated after that. And I'm really motivated. I love training. Dion will know I always like to do the extra hours.
She does more Ks than me.
Really?
Probably.
Oh. Well, what about you then, Dion? Do you share the same love for training as Georgia, or have you found it difficult at times with the whole motivation and the unknown of when things are going to sort of restart?
Yeah, no, I do like training, especially obviously for an event that I'm targeting. And yeah, like now, it was hard over lockdown to sort of keep that motivation and a goal and target, but yeah, I mean, if I have 4 hours on the program or 5 hours, I'd do it pretty much to the dot. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's random Kiwi stat time again. This is stat number 3. The kiwi fruit is not actually from New Zealand. It's actually from China, and it was named after the kiwi bird. So, geez, This is an educational podcast, this episode, I can tell you that. What was the racing scene like in New Zealand? Like, let's go back to the beginning. Like, how did you get started, Georgia, into cycling?
I actually just got talent spotted. So they were pretty much, I did some physical testing in high school when I was 14, and they said that they thought that I'd be a good track cyclist. And I had no idea what track cycling was really. I remember watching a little bit at the Olympics, but didn't even know that they had a velodrome in New Zealand. And yeah.
So do you know what it was that stood out? Like, was it your what is it, the VO2 max, or what was it specifically that they said, oh, hang on?
Yeah, we did a beat test, I think, and I used to run quite a bit, so I had the endurance, I guess. And then we also had to do like a bike 30-second power test, and maybe, I don't know, I guess it was a combination of them both. And yeah,
Right. And so then when did you realize, hey, hang on, I'm actually pretty good at this?
So I did I got 10 free coaching lessons, and then at the end of the coaching lessons with lots of other kids from other schools, they were like, oh yeah, we want to support you for a year, and so they gave me a scholarship. And I was like, oh shit, I guess I gotta do this. So I carried on with it for the year, and then I got some results when I was in the under 15 category on the track, and pretty much just kept going from there, and got a road bike over the winter, and started school cycling. New Zealand has a really good schools cycling road season, and just went from there.
What about you, Dion? How did you get started into cycling, mate?
Much like Georgia, like I did a lot of sports actually before cycling. Bit of running. I actually played rugby for 4 years. So my first year of high school, I was, in 7th grade, which is like the lightest category in rugby. I was about 40 kilos or something. Bit of a dweeb. But yeah, just me and a couple of mates decided that we wanted to try something different. And literally, there was a school cycling team, and just decided to join one day and joined in on one of the training sessions. And I was just on a crappy mountain bike, and everyone else was on road bikes. But I guess from there, it was just a massive support through the school, which I think kept me going. And all the parents are involved around the school team sort of held it up and did a lot of fundraising. And I guess my school wasn't the richest school, so we had to do a lot of that. And and then just started going to a lot of the school events and kind of started from there. It was no sort of influence from anyone. None of my family members knew anything about it, and I didn't know anything about it. So it just kind of happened, really.
I know talking with guys like Bewley and that they're quite passionate when they go back to New Zealand to reconnect with where they obviously grew up and the schools and that. Have you guys done much of that when you go home, like chatting to any of the school students or wherever you came from?
I haven't actually been back to my high school since. I think I've had a few offers to come and speak at the school, but it's always been during the middle of the year when I've been in Europe. So I haven't really had much. Well, I couldn't obviously turn up. So
You have to do a Zoom chat, mate. That's the
yeah,
that's the way now. What about
Yeah.
you, Georgia? Have you reconnected with any of your local schools or anything like that?
Yep, I have done a talk at one of my school sports awards, which was cool. So I was like sportswoman of the year for 2 years there. So I got to come back as a guest speaker, which was pretty cool. And then I give some kit away to some school kids usually when I come home.
What's some of the key things you say to the students, Georgia, in terms of tips?
Just enjoy it. Like, just totally don't stress about training or anything. And don't train every day, train every second day. And just have fun.
Become a tennis player, not a cyclist.
There's a lot more coin in tennis on the world tour, that's for sure. I got Ram stat number 4 for you. Of all the population in New Zealand, only 5% is human. The rest are animals, making it the highest animal to human ratio in the world. But you guys would have already known that. So,
but we got no wild animals, that's for sure.
Yeah. One of the other things I want to ask you is was it difficult because New Zealand is so far away? I think 3 episodes ago we had a random stat that if you drilled a hole through the bottom of New Zealand, it would pop out in Spain. So literally where you grew up, Dion, you couldn't get any further away from where you're based. Do you find it a lot more difficult, particularly when you talk to people that are from the UK and they complain and, they can get on a Ryanair flight and they're home in, 30 minutes. Have you found that transition hard, Georgia, when you were living in Girona?
Not really, actually. I don't know. I guess just we've always been so far away. So, you're just sort of used to it, I guess. It's just what we know.
And what about on the racing scene itself? Did you find it difficult because you raced a lot in Italy in the early days? Same again. Did you find that whole scene quite easy to transition into?
I was actually not too bad. I was first moved to Italy when I was 19 for a season with an Italian team, and I looking back at it now, I don't know how I did it because I was just so alone in a foreign country and didn't speak Italian or anything. But I don't know, I just got on with it. But thinking back to it now, I was like, man, like that was pretty crazy.
Well, what's your Italian like now? Are you fluent in Italian or?
Oh, not really, no. I can understand a lot more than I can speak. I just get more embarrassed to speak it, but I can understand quite a bit.
Yeah, that's all right. I lived in Girona for 5 years and I could barely order a beer by the end of it. What about you, Dan? Did you find the transition hard racing over in Europe in the early days? Like, did you get homesick and things like
that? I guess, the first couple of years I actually was in America, so I guess that transition was a little bit easier for me, obviously going to English-speaking country. And I actually had a time of my life in America and really enjoyed it. I was on a team that got along with all the guys. And so for me, I had a couple of years, I guess, like Georgia, I was 19 when I went to America, but I had a couple of years, sort of growing up. And by the time I got to Europe, I was a little bit older. And like Georgia said again, it was, you just get used to traveling and being away from home. So, and then again, when I first came to Europe on Pro Conti team on One Pro, it was a British team. So all the guys were speaking English. And then it probably wasn't until I was on Wanty for the 2 years that it kind of really hit home that, it was a foreign team and they spoke French or Flemish. So that was a little bit difficult at the start, but sort of got into the groove. And living in Girona played a massive part in feeling like it was at home as well.
All right, we're going to go to our first break, but before we do, we've got random stat number 5. New Zealand has the steepest residential street in the world called Baldwin Street in Dunedin. It has a gradient of 38 degrees. And no, I'm not taking the puss. All right, we're going to have a break, and after the break, we've got Cycling Cravings presented by Girona. It's Cycling Cravings time, presented by Giordana. It's a common theme, obviously, in lockdown. I'll start with you, George. Is there anything that you are absolutely craving by not being at races and things like that at the moment?
Just being with the girls, probably. Yeah, like, I don't know, you become so close with them, and we're all such good friends, and yeah, I just miss them, I guess, and the fun we have at races, and the team planning, and then executing the plans and the races is really fun, and just all of that, really.
A common theme as well is it really reset priorities and things that are important once it's had to scale back. Has it sort of opened your eyes up to, oh, actually, I used to get really stressed about that stuff, but it doesn't really matter. Have you found that at all?
Yeah, totally. You just, all these things I guess you take for granted. But yeah, no, it's totally had lots of those realizations.
What about you, Dion? Anything that you're really craving at the moment, mate?
Oh, just being pampered while you're at racing, you get everything done for you, washing, cooking, massages. All you have to do is ride your bike like you do anyway. So I guess
that's one thing that people don't realise, like the amount of stuff, like you guys, once you're at the race, I mean, the cycling side is hard enough, but you pretty much have to walk on the bus and walk off. Like the daily routine's not too bad, eh?
No, it's the dream. Yeah, I mean, take it for granted. I mean, can't imagine, 50 years ago when, these boys are doing Tour de France, changing their own tyres and stuff like that. So I think we have it pretty easy. But yeah, it's always nice going and like catching up with the guys and having a chef, and it's pretty good.
How are you finding your chef food? Like, is your bread almost at the level of Nicky Strobel's yet?
Oof, I wouldn't say so. No, if I would say yes, I think it would be. It'd be, if he saw the state of my bread, I think it'd take it as an offence. But it's a solid loaf every time I attempt it.
House brick.
Yeah, it's just a brick. Yeah.
You need to get that starter a bit more time to mature, I think. As it gets months down the track, I think that's when it really starts kicking goals post-diet. Just be patient, mate. What about you, Georgia? You said that you obviously miss hanging out with the girls. Do you still keep in regular contact with them via WhatsApp? And have you done any of the house party stuff yet?
We've done a couple of group chats, and then we also have a Snapchat group. So that's really good. Just they always send funny snaps, and we sort of keep up with what everyone's doing through Snapchat, which is really cool.
Have you got into the TikTok craze yet?
No, I haven't. It's good to kill some time, that's for sure. Like, man, the stuff people come up with on there, it's crazy. I've tried, but it's embarrassing.
The problem is, particularly with professional athletes, is every now and then they'll do a video that they think is harmless, but it just, for some reason, it causes like controversy. We had a AFL footballer down here, and he was mucking around with his wife, and he impersonated using her as a mop, and it's just exploded. Like, he had to take it down after 24 hours, and
what's wrong with that?
Well, that's what I thought, but people are saying no, it's disrespectful to women using your wife as a mop and all this sort of stuff, and it's just blown up. So if you are going to TikTok, please do so responsibly. Random stat before we go to the break. Random stat number 6. no matter where you are in New Zealand, you'll never be more than 128 k's from the sea. Are you on the water there where you are, Georgia? What part of NZ are you in at the moment?
I'm in Auckland on the North Shore. Pretty close to the water. Yeah. No, we do have lots of beaches around us.
Yep. Are you into surfing at all, or?
Nah, not at all. No.
You should have to get some lessons off Julian Dean. He's addicted to it now. Yeah, he's really good.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Loves it. All right, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, it's Inside the Victory presented by Scott Sports. We're back from the break. It's Inside the Victory time, presented by Scott Sports. I'll start with you, Georgia. What is the most significant and memorable victory throughout your career? It doesn't necessarily have to be one that you've won. You could be involved with a team. Is there anything that sort of sticks out for yourself?
Probably national champs in 2018. I'd been second 3 times, and so I really wanted that win. My uncle had actually passed away 5 days beforehand, and both his sons, my cousins, were down there watching the race, and on the climb cheering for me, and my dad was there also, my uncle's brother, and it was like super special. I got away and won by 4 minutes, so and just to have them there was really cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. How did you celebrate that night?
Yeah, we all went for pizza, I think, and it was super nice.
Good stuff. I feel bad for the national champions for this season, particularly. Like talking to Shane Archibald, I mean, all the guys in Girona have been giving him a fair bit of crap about it, but the fact that it's obviously a proud thing when you get to wear that jersey throughout the year, but the guys in this current climate that can't fully activate that, it must be pretty bloody frustrating, that's for sure. What about you, Dion? What victory stands out for you, mate?
Can't say I've had too many, to be honest, in my career. But nothing as cool as Georgia. But I'd have to say under 19 scratch race national champ.
Well, that's not bad. Is there anyone that you've been in like a team where one of your teammates has got up for a big win throughout the journey?
I mean, last year and first year World Tour with Mitchelton and racing Catalonia, and I think one of the Yateses won a stage, so that was sort of my first sort of team environment at a big race, where someone actually won a big race. So that was pretty sweet, yeah. But I actually bring back to that national champs. I think they called it a lap too early anyway, so that's what people say.
But in terms of a win in terms of experience, you've got the opportunity to ride in the Tour de France 2 times now. As a young bloke growing up, that's obviously the dream for any cyclist, just to ride in the world's biggest event. What was that experience like for you? Did it live up to expectations?
Yeah, it's always hard to know what to expect. You always have this vision in your head what something's going to be like, but it all sort of happened super fast because I signed with Wanty pretty late. I was signed in mid-January after a whole bunch of drama, and then by July I was at the start line at the Tour. So that first year was just a massive learning experience, and even the second year when I did it, and then to manage to get the polka dot. So I guess getting the polka dot was up there with one of my proudest moments. I wouldn't say it's a win, but it's it was definitely a couple of days that I'll remember for sure.
How many Insta followers did you get from that polka dot? Like, how much spike did you get afterwards?
Maybe 10 followers, I reckon.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It seems the team always tells me to post more, but every time I post, I seem to lose followers. So I don't know what's going on.
You might have to go back to the drawing board.
I did a post yesterday, and I posted it, and then checked how many followers I had, and then the next day I checked again, and it was 2 less. I was like,
I think it's called Sam Titus, because if you look at some of the stuff he's posted, it is just rank. Anyway, stick with it, mate. Don't let that dent your confidence.
Maybe that's the trick.
Maybe start focusing on the sourdough and tell a story around that, or just
maybe post a picture of that, and I'll definitely lose more followers. Yeah.
All right, mate. We'll keep an eye on that. And if anyone is listening, please get on board. Support Dion in his quest for more followers.
Please.
All right. Before we go to the next break, we've got random stat number 7 on New Zealand. There are more Scottish piping bands per capita in New Zealand than Scotland. File that under Who Gives a Rat's. All right.
Didn't know that one.
I don't know where I plucked this from. Anyway, we're going to have a break afterwards. We've got fan questions in Ask Anything presented by Shimano. All right, it's Ask Anything time. Thanks for sending in the questions. We'll kick things off. Alison Bruce, she wants to know, do you have a favourite teammate? If so, and why? We'll start with you, Georgia.
Oh, that's the main question, isn't it?
A teammate's like kids. Like,
just blend their names into one.
Yeah. Or take a punt. Just go out there and just go, right, that's it. I'm calling it.
My favourite teammate the last few years was Alex Manley, but she's not on the team this year. She's focusing on the track. But I think everyone actually knew that we were each other's favourites. We were always sort of requesting to be each other's roommates. So, probably Alex.
What about you, Dion? Do you have a favourite in the men's team, mate?
I think it would be a favourite for many, but I'd say Bewley. I mean, being Kiwi and sort of growing up, sort of looking up to him, and he's a funny guy. He always brings morale to the team. So, yeah, he's probably up there for me. Yeah.
Okay, moving along. Howard Wong wants to know, who is the Messiest teammate on the team? Start with you, Georgia.
Everyone's really good. Yeah. Probably me.
Because you're really sitting on the fence, aren't you?
Yeah.
Don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
Really?
All right. Well, we'll just have to pass on that one. What about you, Dion?
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I mean,
Yul Jensen, I remember, he was shocking on the bus. He used to leave rappers and that everywhere.
I didn't want to pinpoint someone, but yeah, I would say Joel Jensen for sure. I mean, I don't even know if I've roomed with him, but yeah, just I don't know, just from stories of other people, I guess. And
I don't know what it was, but his brain couldn't join the dot between this is rubbish in my hand and it needs to go into the bin. Like, I think he just dropped it. Like, it's weird. Anyway, NZ Dreads wants to know, what's your favourite local ride? I'll ask you, Georgia.
We have pretty good bunch rides here. They're pretty fun. A little bit dodgy, but I like the Mechanics Bay bunch ride.
Why are they dodgy? Is it the local traffic or?
A bit of traffic, people running red lights. A lot of different skill levels on the ride, and then sometimes up to like 50 people. It can get pretty crazy. But no, it's good fun if you set.
Is there good respect with Kiwi motorists and cyclists on the road?
I'd say so.
No, probably not. I find if I ride with guys, I get a lot more abuse. Which is strange.
I'm gonna start riding with a ponytail, I think.
No,
blonde
for sure.
ponytail.
Like, I think that actually helps. But no, I like the odd sort of abusive driver, but like not too bad. I feel like they're just
it's pretty bad.
Stupid.
Is it?
I find it, but like Georgia
like
says, maybe I get more crap. But yeah.
I feel like they're a bit stupid, the drivers, you know, like they're just oblivious and they just don't even know. Yeah,
right. What about you, Dion? What's your favourite local ride in Girona?
In Girona, I'd have to say along the coast. sort of this time of year as well, when it's not middle of summer and there's a lot of cars. But yeah, along the Costa Brava coastline's probably up there with one of my favorites. So
Yeah, it's bloody
nice
beautiful.
scenery, and you've probably done it. Rolling roads and
Yeah. I still love heading down to Tossa de Mar. We used to call that the spiritual home. €15, 3-course meal, and a glass of wine. You can't top that.
You can't go wrong with Tossa.
No, that's right. We've got another question. Team Jonas HB. I think we've already answered it. How have you kept motivated during lockdown? I think we covered that earlier. So
making crap sourdough.
That's it. Sourdough and just keep doing what you're doing.
Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation.
That's it. Final question, Jess Allen. This one's for you, Georgia. Ask Georgia to count to 10. What's she insinuating that you're not sharp?
Yeah, it must be that.
Tell me to help you. You start at 1.
Yeah.
1. No, they just have a problem with when I say 6 and when I say 10.
I think it's our E's.
Yeah.
10. My girlfriend always gives me crap about E's because she's from England. So,
have you noticed from living abroad that your accent has changed? Like when you go home, do people go, it's not as thick, or it hasn't affected it?
I don't think mine's been as thick anyway, but no one's ever said that to me. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's pretty good. Stay true, man. All right. That's it for the fan questions. As we always say, if you've got a fan question, submit it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Before we go to the final break, I've got random stat number 8. This is the last one. New Zealand is listed as a state of Australia in the Australian Constitution and can join the Australian Confederation if they choose to. So there you go. If you ever want to come across to the dark side.
Are you sure you didn't make that?
You're welcome. No, mate. I only talk to facts on this program. Everything we say on this is 100% correct. And talking about facts, we've got the quiz coming up. The quiz presented by Pirelli. It's men's versus women's team. We've got 5 questions. It's a New Zealand theme. And it's a quiz presented by Pirelli. I'm just going to kick things off. If you know the answer, just yell it out. First correct answer wins. All the best. We'll start off with, how many Oscars did the Lord of the Rings series win? Was it 10, 11, 12, or 13?
10.
12.
Keep going.
11.
13.
11. Good start. All right. Jacinta Ardern grew up on what type of farm? What type of farm?
Dairy farm.
No. You want to have a stab in the dark, Georgia? It's a fruit.
Kiwi fruit.
Give it away.
Nah.
Oh, no.
You want to have another nibble?
Apple.
Yes. It's 1-1. We've got a ring-a-ding-dinger finally. It's always been a blowout, this bloody quiz. Finally, we've got a good battle on our hands. What is?
We're not so smart.
Yeah, you can't count to 10 though. That's good. What is the highest-grossing New Zealand film of all time? Lord of the Rings is not considered a New Zealand film.
Why isn't it?
I don't know. I didn't dig a bit further for that, but it wasn't in the top 10. What would be number 1? No, that's number 2, I think.
Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yeah,
Hunt for the Wilder People. 2-1. The women's team take the lead. All right. Question number 4. What year did Lord premiere her track royals on YouTube?
2013.
Yes, 13.
What?
And I think that will seal it. Actually, we'll mix. We'll go triple points for the last one just to give you a chance. What dangerous creature cannot be found in New Zealand, native or introduced?
Snake.
Yes.
My internet's lagging. It's about 10 seconds behind there, mate.
Mate, and the reports just come in as this show went to air. You've lost 16 followers, so it's just been a terrible episode.
That's a good day for me, anyway.
Now, before we go, we always give you a chance to say one final word to the people listening. Georgia, do you want to kick things off? Final word to the people tuning in?
I don't know, just try and enjoy this time as much as you can, even though it's a pretty hard time. I think it's nice to slow down, and maybe it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise for some people. But just stay healthy and try to stay positive.
And Dion, this is your last chance to get those 16 followers back, mate. What do you want to say to the people tuning in?
Oh, it's just thanks to all the people that are still following me. True fans, true fans. But much the same as Georgia, really. It's just these times you got to realise the small things in life. And I think everyone's taken a step back and, just keep motivated and focus on the things ahead.
Good final words, guys. Thanks again for taking time out to join us on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure. Look forward to seeing you guys back on the road, hopefully pretty soon. Stay safe over there, eh?
Cheers, Dan.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, mate. See you, Georgia.